Good, what's it, Wednesday? Good Wednesday evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing good. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to Zero to Hero Part 3 of Linux. As usual, I'm going to let people take the first couple minutes, let people get logged on. I'm going to get set up. I'm actually going to open up the windows because I live over here on the East Coast and it was 70 degrees today, which is super nice. So the house is a bit hot. So let me open up the windows real quick. Get some airflow so I don't pass out in here. Okay, let's see. Let's open up what we're going to need today. We'll get started around 7:35. Let me get the music going. There we go. I got one of these cool little Stream Deck things. We get the company I work for gives us we get a tech budget every year to kind of buy, a certain amount of tech things, cool tech stuff. I didn't know what to get this year, so I got this cool little Stream Deck programmable like macro thing. So I'm gonna figure out how to use it. I use it to like switch from the video to the main screen, but also don't really know what I'm doing yet, so still trying to figure all that out. So if anyone knows anything cool I can do with it, definitely let me know. Let me turn this down just a bit. Cool, so let's go. Cool, and I'll go back to this. Let me paste this in the chat if anyone doesn't know what we're following. We're following this little cheat sheet here. I just like this one because it's broken down into sections. It's not all encompassing, but it's kind of good at providing categories for the things that you may want to learn, and that's what we're going to be using. So if you want to follow along, I will paste it here. Cool. Wrong thing. We don't want to download that. All right, let's make this a little bit smaller over here. Cool. So once again, if you are on a Mac, you don't need to be if this is your first time here. All the things that we do here, just about everything we do, is going to apply directly to Mac. There's a few commands where maybe like the flags are different, or they won't be available by default. But it's pretty easy to get those installed. And then there's a few commands like I know sed is different on Unix and Macintosh. They have different sed packages that you've got to do different things for. Like I know the in-place replacement for stuff is kind of weird on the Mac, so you got to keep that in mind. But for anyone on a Mac, you should be able to just do the things that I'm doing to follow along. If you are on Windows, hopefully you can install the Linux subsystem for Windows. So I'm running out of a virtual machine here, but maybe if I hit Control F and I get out of here, you can actually install the Windows subsystem for Linux, and you can basically run Linux inside of Windows, and it does cross OS access, and you can kind of operate within them together. So you do have that option available to you. I actually think it installs like an Ubuntu command line thing, so you can get a couple different distros. I believe I chose Ubuntu just because it's something that I'm super comfortable with, and it's a good it's got a lot of packages that are easily installable and available for it, and that's why I went with that. But cool, let's get it. 7:35. Yeah, let's get started. I forgot what's the first section we said we want to go over. So what we've done so far, actually, we've covered basically command line navigation. So we know how to, move around. We know how to navigate and move to different files. We understand pathing, relative versus absolute paths. We learned how to manipulate files, create empty files with the touch command. We learned how to edit files with Nano and Vim. We learned how to move files. We learned how to copy files. We learned all about directories. We learned about permissions. We learned about process management already. So we learned, things like the top command to kind of see what's going on, in the free command to check memory usage. What else did we do? On directory, and we did some stuff with package managers and figuring out how to install package. Let me actually do this. Figuring out how to install packages. So if you missed a lot of that stuff, and if you're kind of lost on the things that we are going to go over tonight, don't sweat it. Go back if they're still available. Go back and watch the ones that I did before this. They should be up for at least 60 days, so you should have a couple more weeks to go back and watch those things and get all caught up. But yeah, so the first thing we're going to go over tonight is networking. So again, I think it's important to understand how you may use these things, in a work setting, and how they can be powerful for you, because I don't expect many of you to be using Linux as your desktop environment. And again, a lot of these commands work in Mac as well, but you'll be using these on servers and things like that, to get things done. So let's start, and let's run down the list, and I'll kind of explain what you should. We'll see it in action, and we'll kind of explain what it is doing. So first one we have here is the Ifconfig command. So, and like I said, it displays all network interfaces and IP addresses. So if you've ever had to get your IP for any reason, maybe you were doing some tech support with Comcast or something, they probably just told you to go to Google and type in, if we go to Google and we type in, what is my IP, it'll give it to you. And, that is great. That's excellent. When you have a browser, most servers and things that you may be doing work on, most VMs and cloud systems they're going to be headless. They're not going to have a GUI available for you to kind of do these things. So for you to be able to see the different networks that you have available to you and your IP addresses and your network interfaces and stuff, you can run the ifconfig command. Interesting. I wonder if this changed in the new version of Ubuntu. Ifconfig should be available, but let's go ahead and install that. We learned about package management last time, so let's do this. Go ahead and install that real quick. So package management, we're using the apt package manager to install this NetTools package, and we can run ifconfig. Awesome. So what it does give me here is it actually gives me an internal IP address for my internal NIC. But let's see something. I wonder. This must be a setting for when I installed it, but usually it'll give you the different network interfaces. So this is my loopback interface. This is my home interface. There will always be one of these here for 127.0.0.1. It is very important to know this IP address. This is the same thing as if you've ever heard of localhost. That is just kind of a DNS name for this, for 127.0.0. You may see a shirt. There's a nerdy shirt going around. It's like there's no place like 127.0.0.1, and that is home. That's always the IP address, kind of referring to yourself, your own device. And so this is my computer's internal DNS that I gave it, IP address that I could use to kind of connect to that. And let's go. What happens if we give it the -A? Maybe the -A will give me. All right, it doesn't give it to me. I think that's a way. I think that has to do with the networking that I have set up in this virtual box. But so that is how you can get that. There's a lot of other information here, but it will be the second line, and it'll be that first number there that you'll see. So I think Mac is ifconfig. I think on Windows, let me see here. Let's actually open up one here. I think it's ipconfig in Windows. Yeah, so ipconfig Windows, ifconfig Mac. But you can see it's a lot of the same things. It'll give me, you know, my IP4 address and my internal. This is my internal one for Docker, my Docker IP address range and stuff. So cool. So you have to do that. That's a pretty important thing to know. You know, being able to get IP addresses, figure out what network interfaces you have available to you when you're doing different types of configurations, etc. So, so this says do ifconfig eth0. So we are not going to do that because we don't have an eth0 because this is what they're trying to do is allow us to pick a very specific network interface. And so you can see right here we actually have the specific interface name. So eth0 is a common one. Usually something will come back with an eth0 that will be your main internet connection. But we don't have that here, so we can do ifconfig. I wonder if you do it on the loop back, what do you get? Yep, so this just gives me the information for a single interface. So you can run this to get all of the network connections, and then you can specify information for an exact one that you may want. So if I clear this, and I run another ifconfig, and I paste this in, you can see how it gives me the information very specifically for this network interface. Cool. So that's 2 commands down, 2 good commands down. Ifconfig is super important. So the ETH tool, this one's also not going to work. Man, this didn't, maybe I did the minimal installation or something. I'm not sure why I don't have, most of this stuff should be available to, all the stuff should be available to you by default. Let's go ahead, let's get that installed as well. So we can just run through some of this stuff. So ETH tool, it's gonna take, you've got to pass it in one of those network interfaces. So let's actually take let's take this full screen again. Switch. All right, and let's unfull screen this because now everything's behind my face. And let's move this over. Oh man, it did not like that. So let's open up a new window and let's scoot that over. This is a little better. Cool. So, so again, you know, you need to pass in an interface for ETH tool, and we can see that, you know, when I typed it in, you'll see it'll give you an error. So get comfortable with reading errors. It says ETH tool bad command line arguments, and then I could run, you know, for more information, I can run ETH tool -h, which is for help. So let's do that real quick. And it'll spit out the help page for me. This is, again, hard to read. We went over some of this the very first. We went over some of this man pages and help pages the very first live stream about Linux. So definitely go back and watch that if that's a little jarring. But we'll clear this because that's a lot of information. But ETH tool, and well first let's get the name of the network interface. So we'll copy this and then we'll run ETH tool and pass this in. And I've actually only used ETH tool like once or twice in my entire Linux career. So you can see how there's a lot of things available to you that you may not need to use. But this can come in handy. This is to control your network driver and hardware settings. Not really worried about that right now, but this gives you a lot of information. You can pass it in more flags just like everything else. Yeah, so can I ask what you're doing? I mean, what are your oh yeah, so sure. So my and maybe I'll add that to the list of commands here, but currently I'm a DevOps engineer. I'm assuming that's what you mean by what I'm doing. But I'm a DevOps engineer, and you know, I do some automation with cloud computing. I do write some software as well. The project that I'm on is a JavaScript node stack. So lately I've been writing a lot of JavaScript, but I do a lot of stuff with CloudFormation. I touch a lot of AWS services every day. Yeah, and just do a lot of automation with that. I'm kind of big into Golang as well. Yeah, and my goal is honestly I'm trying to become a bit of an AWS expert. So I'm working on my Solutions Architect Pro for AWS. Kind of want to specialize a little bit there. You know, and I'm probably moving to, I'm kind of big into containers and Docker as well. I've done a fair amount with Kubernetes, but that's probably the next big thing to kind of become an expert at, is probably Kubernetes after I, you know, pass the AWS cert. But in terms of what my goal is right now for this, is just to pass along the information that I have, and hopefully help other people get interested in this stuff. Tech was something that, you know, really was important in my life. And it's helped me get, you know, do all the things that I've ever wanted to do. So I'm hoping I can show people that you don't need to be, you know, the smartest person in the world. And I know it looks crazy, but the more you see it, the easier it becomes. You're just starting to use Linux. Only my is a Roche 3. Yeah. I mean, gaming on Linux is a whole different animal. I have done plenty of that. There's a reason why I'm a big Linux and open source advocate. But there's a reason why I am running Windows on this machine. This is my gaming rig. It's pretty powerful. But Linux can be Linux desktop at least can be a handful for work and for other things. I actually run a Linux laptop that I bought from a company called System 76, which is pretty cool. So I don't have to fight with any drivers or anything. Everything kind of works out of the box for that. But yeah, Linux gaming is pretty cool. Yeah, if you ever have questions or you want to work on trying to get something spun up, I'll help, because if I can game on Linux, I would switch. I would definitely switch. But yeah, so cool. So that was where do we go? We're on ETH tool. Cool. And now we'll get into some ones that you probably will use every day, especially if you're a dev. You know, if you're not just a Linux systems administrator or something. You know, these are a lot of the upcoming commands. They are networking commands, but they kind of dive deeper into DNS and kind of how the web works. So they're really important to know and to understand. So the first one that we're going to do is ping. Ping is a really important command. So ping, you type in ping and you give it a host name or an IP address to hit. And what it'll do is it will send out an ICMP process, and it'll basically let you know if it was able to hit that endpoint. So this is a good way to check if, you know, a server or endpoint is up. It's important to note that especially with cloud computing now, not everything accepts ping by default. I think Amazon by default blocks ICMP protocols, so you can't just kind of, like, by default you kind of can't ping stuff, but it's a good way to check, you know, if things are running. And it's kind of the first step to troubleshooting some things when you're doing stuff like that. Ping is good. And it's got a lot of options. And maybe we'll start looking at all the help pages so we can see all the help pages and man pages, so we can see all the things that we have available to us. So just like any other Linux command, you can usually pass in some type of flag that will give you, you know, a specific thing. So count, I can specify the number of times I'd like it to ping. If I pass in -C, and I think I just do something like 10, I'll just do 5, and then I do google.com, and I think it should only go 5 times. Let you know the sequence. Yep, and it's done. So you can see how you can use a command to you can use these flags to modify some of the things you're doing here, and get it to do, you know, exactly what you want it to do. So ping's a good one to kind of check if something is available. And the next one we're going to go into is, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. The next one we're going to go to is whois. So this probably is not installed by default. It is not, so let's install that. Most machines, this stuff is installed on, I believe. They must have pulled a lot of this for desktop users recently, I guess. So let's go ahead and install. Let's move this over. I didn't realize my face was blocking it. So whois. So this displays the whois information for the domain. So what does that mean? Let's clear this. And actually let's go to so there's an organization called ICANN, and they kind of they run this whois like registrar service, and so basically this is kind of so the internet works basically via something called DNS. I think it's domain name service, and that's the reason. That's the way you're able to. Hey, thank you for the follow, Golden Knuckles, appreciate it. But that is how your computer, when you make a request to, when I type in, we're gonna switch it up and go to yahoo.com. When I type it in, have you ever wondered how your computer knows where to go get the information from Yahoo? Like, how does it know where to go? And DNS is basically the service that translates this yahoo.com address into, you know, the IP address or the location of the server that has the information that you're looking for. So it's how the internet runs, and ICANN kind of supports all this stuff. So you can run a whois on a domain, and again, we're going to Google. And it'll give you a bunch of information. Sometimes it's private, but it'll let you know, the domain, who registered it, the registrar they registered it under, when it was updated, and things like that. So it gives you a bunch of information about a domain. So, you can use that to find out a lot of information. We used to use whois all the time, as we used to think of sweet domains to see if they were available. You can see instantly if a domain is available by typing whois, or if it's likely available using whois. But if you find a domain that you may want to buy and no one's using it, you can do a whois to get their contact information sometimes, to kind of contact them and be able to purchase that from them. But it is a cool tool. So, like GNOME. Yeah, I agree. GNOME isn't my favorite, so this is running GNOME, but I have this dash to panel thing, so it kind of mimics Windows. Yeah, I actually do prefer XFCE for my main Linux laptop, but I am still running GNOME on there because I didn't really want to mess with it. Ubuntu is an excellent spinoff. I actually like Ubuntu a lot. I also like what is it, Solus? I want to check out Solus because they have the Budgie desktop, which is a newer desktop, a newer desktop environment that I like. So maybe check out Solus. It's a pretty cool distro as well, or whatever distro you're on. Maybe get try out the Budgie desktop environment. It's pretty cool. Cool. So whois, again, that shows you how to get the information for the registrar and the information about who owns the domain. And then let's go with dig. So we just talked about DNS, and dig displays the DNS information for the domain. So just to keep it consistent, clear, let's do a dig on google.com. So this makes the request to find out what IP address the Google servers reside at. So this is how you can get, if you're looking for an IP address to do something, and the host name, or the domain name, you can use dig to find out information. So you can also do things like pass in a specific record type. I actually haven't done this in a while. What can I do? Dig like MX to get the mail records. And so there are different types of DNS records. So there are places, A records are kind of the main record to tell it where to send your stuff. And the MX records are mail records, mail exchange records. So that's how you set up, mail exchanges and set up your mail. So you can get those records as well. There are canonical names or CNAME records. Looks like they don't have any for google.com. And this is where you can point your domain to another host name or something. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones that you can put here. There's text. Let me see if text will come through, if they have any text records. Yeah, but there's a bunch of different types. But you can use dig to pull up that DNS information. DNS is a big kind of complicated thing. I mean, at the surface, it's fairly easy to understand, but it's actually pretty deep and pretty complex. And I do intend on streaming about that, but that will take probably a dedicated stream in itself, to be honest, maybe two, to get through a lot of that stuff. So you can use that to find out DNS names. So I can also do the reverse. So, if I know the IP address, and if an IP address is hitting you and you want to know if it's from, a certain domain or something, you can do the opposite by passing in a -x flag. So let's dig Google again. And let's clear. Let's copy this and let's run that reverse search. And we paste this in. It gives us some other information, and there are these PTR records that let you know, PTR record. I haven't dealt with PTR in a while. I think PTR records give you, let's actually look it up. I think it gives you the authoritative name, server, IP. Let's look that up. I don't want to give you wrong information. DNS has become relatively easy now with the cloud, so I don't have to worry about this stuff. Yeah, pointer record. It results in an IP address to a fully qualified domain name. So a fully qualified domain name, you'll see this a lot, FQDN, pretty important. This is something like www.google.com. That is a fully qualified domain name. I think just google.com is as well. But that's a fully qualified domain name. As an opposite to in a record, reverse DNS record. Cool. Yep. So that's how you can get some information on that, on the pointer record. And let's move on to the next one. Host. So this will display the DNS IP address for domain. I actually haven't used the host command in a really long time. A very, very, very long time. Let's see what this does when we put in Google. Okay, yeah, it just drops you information about that host. And it looks like it gives you some more information about what handles some of its records. Gives us an IPv6 address by default. Gives us an IPv4, so it gives you the IP address of the host, the IPv6 address, and looks like it gives us the MX records as well. I'm assuming if it had other things that were available, it would probably give us those as well. Hostname I, the network address of the host name, so let's see what it said. I typed that in wrong. Hostname -I. Is that just my computer? These ones are cool. Oh, so I mean, this just gives me the IP address of my own host. That's really weird. I wonder if I assumed you could pass it a host. So hostname just gives you the host name of your computer. And so this is this computer here is, my virtual box. And I think if I go into like this PC or about, yeah, that should give me the the device name, the name of this computer. This is probably small, but I can't make this bigger. But in there it says Aaron VirtualBox, and you can see here the host name of my computer is also Aaron VirtualBox. And then if you pass it the I flag, it gives you the IP address of that. And remember, I said 127.0.0.1 is the home computer, so it looks like the host name gets one octet up here for its IP address. Yeah, I understand that. Definitely appreciate you signing in. Definitely come back in. If you gotta go to sleep, definitely sign back in and take a look at it when you get some time. So you kind of keep up on what's going on. It's gonna get progressively harder, or not harder, but more complex. We're gonna be diving deeper into deeper things in the coming weeks. So definitely dig in a little deeper. If you've got to sign off. But I definitely appreciate you coming through to the stream. So it's clear, and let's go ahead to the next networking one. I think this is the last. It's the last networking one. Last two. These are pretty good. wget. wget is how you download files from the command line. If you ever wondered how to download a file from the command line, and maybe I can let's go with Docker package, or I'm gonna Google Docker script. And so cool. So this, I'm gonna download this script basically from the command line here. And to do that, you can use the wget command. So basically you do wget and you pass in the URL for the file that you want to download. Yeah, just like this, and it will download it. So you can see it goes through here. Because I didn't give it a file path, when you hit this website, it has an index.html. So if we look at it, downloaded an index.html here. You can see it's from today. And let's take a look at it and see if it matches the script. Cool. And you can see here that this these two things match. I'll make this a little bit bigger, but these are the same thing. So using wget, I was able to pull this down to my own computer and do whatever I want with it. So if you ever need to get installation packages or scripts or files, this is a way to get files from the internet to your computer. We'll talk about some other ways to get files from the internet or move files around in a little bit, but wget allows you to do that, to download directly to the command line. Cool. So we'll delete this index. All right, let's clear this again. Cool. So you can see how these are. All these commands are actually a lot. I think a lot. They're a lot more useful than some of the. Well, they are. If you have to manage systems, these are all good commands to know. Oh, okay. Sorry, there's one more. Oh, netstat. So, I'll show you the output first. So we'll do netstat -toolpin. That's how I remembered it, but you can put this in any order. But this shows you this shows you which ports are in use on your computer, or the ones that are being listened on. So if I opened up a web server like Nginx, installed a web server like Nginx or something, the default web port is port 80. I would be able to see that there's something running on port 80, and I could you can do cool things like I could search for something. So if I'm worried that maybe one of my ports is taken up, I could do something like this. Well, that was shown. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do sudo. Yeah, but it's not gonna show anything because I don't have anything running on port 80. But that's how you can identify conflicts. If you ever try to restart a service or try to install something, and you get an error saying, "Hey, this port is already in use," you can run this to kind of see what's taking that port up. It says it's telling me here that Chrome's taking up these ports 556 here and stuff like that. So you can use this to kind of find conflicts and figure out what ports your computer is listening on. This is usually pretty important. It's like one of the first troubleshooting things I'm doing if an application isn't available from the internet, or if I'm setting up an application for someone and we're trying to hit it over the web and we can't see it. You kind of hop in here and you'll know the port that it's supposed to be running on. Maybe if it's Node, it may be supposed to be running on port 3000 or something, and you can kind of check and make sure the server is actually listening on that port for information. So that is a cool one. So that is all of the networking commands. After that, we're going to go into archiving. So archiving is cool. You can think of archiving like making they're compressed zip. They're not zip files. They aren't zip files. But just to put it in like the paradigm that people are used to, it's like making a zip file. I think the compression's a lot better on tar files, and we can actually check that manually. But let's go into documents, and let's just take all the stuff that's here. And the first command is to tar up a directory. So to create a tar file. So like a zip file. This is just called a tar file. To create a tar named archive.tar. So we're going to make a zip file basically named archive.tar, and it's going to contain whatever we want to contain. So I'm going to basically tar up everything that's in this directory. I'm going to tar it up here. So I'm going to do tar. What was that? Tar CF. I think the C is for compress. I don't know what the F is for, but we can check that after. And then I can give it everything I want to have. So let's start with just one. I'll tar up just the Crucible folder. And so I could pass in as many of these things as I want, but I'll just do this. Cowardly refusing to create empty tar, try tar. What did I do wrong here? Crucible. Oh, I didn't give it a name. So you saw how I did not read this properly. So make sure when you're reading through documentation, you'll miss things. My eyes missed this. I missed you got to be, Linux is a little bit unforgiving. I've got to make sure I do everything. So I've got to give it an actual name. So I'm going to just call it r tar file .tar. And there we go. So, it kicks us back out back out into the prompt, usually that's a good thing. And if I do another list, I can see that it created a file here, and it tarred this up for me, which is good. And the size is, it's a bigger file because it just shows this because it's a folder, but it tarred up everything that's in here. And basically this is a file that I can, pass around to someone. It'll be smaller. Perfect. Yeah. F is for file. All right. Yeah. So C is for create and not compress. So thank you for that. And so I've got this file here. So I could put all of these folders into a tar file, and make it easy to kind of move around, as well. But we'll leave it at that. And that's how you create a tar file. And so I could, so let's move it somewhere. So let's move it, let's make a directory, and let's call it, untar. Make a directory called untar, and we will move, the tar file we have here into the untar directory. And let's pop up. So we'll go into untar here. All right, so the only thing in this untar folder is this tar file that we just created. It is this archive file that we just created. And so to unzip it, before I give it too many flags, because every time I just give it the same flags. XF, I usually add in a V for verbosity or verboseness. But we'll unzip it basically. We will uncompress this tar file, and we run that. And if we have a listing, you can see now that this Crucible folder that we tarred up is actually here because it pulls out of this file. But it's important to note that this stays here, just like in Windows or just like in Mac. If you unzip a file, that zip file still sticks around. So that's how you uncompress these archive files. Okay, and then you can gzip it. So this is actually not compressed. If you add in extra flag, which is Z, this will allow you to gzip it to make it that's actually going to compress it and make it smaller. And so let's do that as well. And we'll leave this tar file here. We'll go back and we'll gzip the same. We'll tar and gzip the same file. Let's run the same command. And this time we will add in the Z so that it's compressed. And you've got to give it a .gzip file extension name. And we'll do the same thing. And we take a look, and now we can see we created our gzip file. And let's move this also to the untar directory. And let's take a look at the file. Whoops. Untar. Let's take a look at the file sizes. You can see here, little more readable for everyone. You can see here that the tar is a lot larger than the gzipped one. Actually, it's like 6 times smaller, the gzipped one. So if you want to save space, if you have a lot of archive files that you want to just save, put all together, make them a lot smaller, you can compress them using gzip, and that will save disk space, make it easier for you to transfer them around. And if I -rf this Crucible folder, and then I tar xevf this gzip one, you can still see here that I have a Crucible folder, and it's got all the same stuff. So it's a lot easier to move around 26K than 130K. That these aren't very large, but when you get into things where things are gigabytes in size, or terabytes even, it can be a lot easier, to add some compression to it. And then there's also bzip. I'm not going to go over this, but there's bzip 2 for compression as well. So this is the same thing. It's the same. You do it the same way. You just pass in a different flag, which is J instead of Z, and give it a different file extension. And then you can use bzip to do your compression rather than gzip. I think bzip 2 is a better compression. Actually, is Crucible still here? We'll just tar this up. Let's check the size. I don't know which one. I actually don't know which one is the smallest. What is it? BZ2. Yeah, BZ2, and it's CJF. And we want to tar up this Crucible folder. And then, let's see. So it looks like bzip2 is a little bit better at compression. So again, for larger files, this might be a much better thing. These files are pretty small, so this is no big deal. But it looks like bz2 does have better compression. Most of the time, though, I see gzip. I don't see many bz2 compression. So I think gzip comes by default on most servers, and I don't think bzip2 does. But maybe times have changed, so they might come by default. So you can use either of these compression methods to do what you want to do. Yes. So now let's go to SSH logins, and let's see how I am going to do this. I don't have. Do I have a server that I could log into? Let's check here. I should have thought about this beforehand. But let's talk about what SSH is. SSH stands for Secure Shell. This is the protocol that allows you to be able to remotely log in. It doesn't have to be just remote, but remotely log into to a Linux computer. So Windows has something called Remote Desktop or RDP, which is Remote Desktop Protocol, which allows you to log into a Windows server, or if you're over someone's house or something and you have it enabled, you can log into your computer at home and control it from home. This is how SSHing is how you will log into a remote Linux system and do the things that I'm doing now. So I could go into let's go into Amazon really quick. Console. You can't see my hands, so I will type this in. My auth code. Let's go with I'll put you on the starting soon screen in a second, so that you cannot see, even though this doesn't really matter. But I'll do that real quick while I'm putting in some sensitive information. Maybe I'll make a sensitive information screen here. We'll go 903. Let's see. All right. Am I in? I'm in. And now I am back. So let's spin up I don't think I have any of my keys here, but we'll go ahead and spin up a server really quick. So we'll launch an instance. We'll make it. We're working on Ubuntu, so we'll make it Ubuntu. And so I'm showing you guys. You guys are getting some good stuff here. This is how you can quickly spin up web infrastructure in AWS, and this is why the cloud is cool. Just for this purposes, I'm going to spin myself up a server. We'll use the free tier. We will leave all that as storage. Not really going to use this for anything. I'll leave it there. I'm not even going to give it a name. Give it security groups. We only need, so SSH runs over port 22. So the same way I showed, the same way I did this netstat command. So netstat, this command that showed you, what ports we're listening. Port 22 isn't on here because I don't have an SSH server on here. So, if you're unable to log into, let's say you're unable to log into some kind of Linux host, maybe you have physical access to it and you plug into it, you get in there and you want to check whether or not SSH is accepting requests, you can absolutely, do this and grep for port 22. And it'll come up with stuff, but it won't come up, like none of this is port 22. This is Chrome actually, and then it's just match 22. I could do an exact match. We don't need to worry about that right now, but I'm gonna spin up a server really quick. It's basically saying I can log in from anywhere. Create new, it's fine. And then I'll launch it. I'm gonna create a new key pair, and I'm gonna call it stream test key pair. So with with Amazon, you can't log in to any servers with a username and a password. You gotta log in with something called SSH keys or SSH key pairs. That is, that goes along with what we're doing now, but this is another thing in itself to go over. But you can saw it downloaded a file here for me, and I'll do some stuff with that really quick. But just like that, Amazon is spinning up a server for me, and we are going to use the SSH protocol to get logged in, and then I can show you how you can do the same things that I'm doing now on a server. So we'll go ahead and set up the SSH command. So SSHing, all you need, all the information you need is the IP address, which we can get right here at Amazon, or the domain name. So let's say I call this Mastermind. I bought a domain called mastermind.io. And let's say I wanted to, create a server for this. I could set up the DNS so that this is mastermind.io. And so I could use, once the DNS is pointed at this IP address, I could use either one of these to log into my server. But you really just need the username that you want to log in as, the password, and the IP address. Amazon's a little different. Because I said you are unable to use username and passwords. You have to use this key. It's like a lock and key thing to be able to gain access into your server. So I am going to go back a directory, and I'm gonna copy. We downloaded that key, so I need this key here. I'm gonna copy it here. So back to something we talked about before. This is the file that's going to allow me to get into my server. But I know before I run this, we talked about Linux permissions last time, and secure shell or SSH is secure. So there are things that have to be put in place for this to work properly, and one of those is the permissions of this file have to be proper. So I'm gonna chmod this for security reasons to, I think it just needs read access, and watch over here. You'll see how after I run this command, these things change, and we will put the name of the file, and we do another listing. You can see how now I've removed all of the permissions minus read here for my user. So that's one of the things we need to do. I'll do clear. But we can put together our SSH command. So we know the IP address. So I'll copy the IP address here. And I would normally say SSH. Let's say my user was Aaron. I would put in my username. I would say @ and then the IP address of the domain name. So this is the anatomy of your SSH command. You don't need a username if you're logging in as the same username, but you should get in the habit of putting in a username. Because you will likely have a specific user for you to log in as. And this is the anatomy of it. This is not going to work because, one, this server that we're logging into does not have an Aaron user. And again, it takes SSH keys. But we can say here, the user is actually a user called CentOS. Actually, no, we spun up. What do we spin up? Do we spin up an Ubuntu server? I think we spun up an Ubuntu server. So the username is Ubuntu, I believe. Amazon does not do this well. They do not let you know what the user is. You kind of have to go digging yourself. But let's say I did this. It would basically try to connect, ask me if I wanted to connect. I could type in yes. This is going to fail. I got a permission denied here for public key reasons because I did not give it a public key. This SSH server is configured to only accept connections through SSH. So what we will do here is I will let it know. I'll pass in something called an identity file. And basically, I'm just going to tell it to use that file that that we have just downloaded. I'll do this. And you can see a bunch of stuff happened. And it lets me know, welcome to Ubuntu 18.04. Lets me know I'm in. Gives me some information about it. It gives me some information here. And I'm into this server. And you can know, the way you're in a different computer than your own is up here, my prompt had my name at my host name here, at my computer's host name. And then down here, you can see here now it has the same thing, but the user's Ubuntu, and this is actually the host name of this server. So if I type in host name, you can see here this matches this, which is pretty cool. So I'm in the server here. You can do some cool, like, first things first, you usually want to do like an update. You want to get all the packages up to date. That's kind of the first thing you do when you log into a server for the very first time. We're not going to do that right now, but I just wanted to show you that's the secure shell protocol. That is, so I think if I go to netstat-toolpin here and I grab 22, perfect. You can see here that Whatever is after the IP address, after the colon, is your port protocol. And I can see here that you know, on my local computer, let's run that again. On my this is a new tab, so this is my, you can see here, this is my local computer, and if I run that here, I don't have anything running on port 22, so no one will be able to SSH into my machine now, but this server does have something running on port 22. The difference between this is the IPv4 address, and this is saying that it's also running port 22 open on IPv6. So if I have a service or server, or my computer's configured to try to connect over IPv6, I do have that option. So SSH gets kind of deep. There's a lot of configuration options that you can use, but that is the protocol. That's all it is being able to log into a remote system. I am in a completely remote system somewhere else. And maybe if I run that Ifconfig command here, it gives me the IP address that I can use to log into it properly. And you can see, you know, all computers have this loopback address as well. So cool. So that is all you need to know right now about SSH logging in currently. So, what is next? Transferring files, and this is actually this is perfect because I needed to spin up this server for this. So we talked before about how to like move files around, you know, with the move command, or copy them around. But let's talk about moving them, transferring them around, you know, between servers, between servers over the web. So we did wget. That is a way you can do it, but you would have to have that file being hosted over the web, and you know, that's not the best way to do it, especially if there are a lot of files. It's not even really a good way to do it, but where were we gonna go to? File transfers. Cool. And in the file transfer section, we're gonna do two things. There are other ways to do this stuff. There are other protocols, things like FTP that you could use, but we're gonna focus on one called SCP, which is secure copy, or it might be secure shell copy, but it's secure copy. And the other one is rsync. So we're gonna segue right into SCP because SCP uses SSH to do so. And so now that we're on this tab to the left, you can kind of check up top here. This tab to the left, whenever it is the light tab, that means I'm on that one. That means I'm on the remote server. And whenever I'm on the right one, this is my home computer. And I'll try to let you know which tab I'm on because it can get pretty confusing to know what we're doing here. So right now I'm on my home computer, and I want to go into this untar folder. And let's say, you know, I zipped up and I compressed a bunch of server logs that I wanted to ship off to my manager or my security team so they could take a look at them and, you know, run things against them to figure out what's going on with some servers. But they wanted me to put them, you know, or maybe they have a server that runs these jobs automatically. And they wanted me to put them there. So what I could do is use SCP for this. And let's say we want to send let's send the tar.gz one. So SCP has the same, it's got the same syntax as the copy command, but also as the SSH command. So they're kind of hybridized a little bit. So I have to do the same thing here. I have to specify -i because I'm pushing to Amazon. I've got to give it that. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. So let's go back one. Actually, let's go back in there. This will be another exercise in relative versus absolute pathing. So basically what's happening here is when I want to run the SCP, I'm going to do the -i. Before, I was able to just put in stream tests.pem, but this actually doesn't work. It won't find this file because it's not in our current directory. So if I do an ls of where I am currently, there's no stream test here. So I've got to give it either a full path or a relative path from where I am. So relative to where I am, this file is at .. It's back one, so it's back one directory, and I think it's there. And that's where it is. So it auto-completed for me because it is in that location. But I could also do this. And this is equally as correct. I could do home, Aaron, because it's my username, documents, stream test IPEM. So both of these are the same. This path is an absolute file path. So this is where the file is located on my system from the root of my system. The root is always slash, and basically from the very root, these are the directions you take to get to that file. But relative to where I am currently, this is it. So it's going back one directory, and it is in that directory. So I'll do that. And then you give it, just like the copy command, actually I have to give it a -i. And the copy command is basically copy this file from the source, so from right here, copy this file that I'm about to tell it into this destination. So it's source first, destination second. And so that's what we're going to do here. So you got to give it the full little a username and hostname thing here. So is that what I logged in with before? Yeah, I'll grab this one. I'll grab the public IP. So I'm gonna Ubuntu add to this IP address. That's my source. Then I have to tell it where I want to put it on the server. I'll do a tilde. This is the shortcut for home, or I could type in /home. This will put it in Ubuntu's home directory, or I could give it a full file path. So maybe if they wanted it in /var/logs or something, if I had access to that directory, I could put it there. But I'm just gonna do this to say the home directory, and then you specify the file that you actually want to, backwards, sorry. Was thinking too far ahead. So I want to copy from my local computer to this one. So it goes first, the file that I want goes first. So I'll call out tar file, let's see, our tar file.gz. All right, cool. Sorry about that. That was a little confusing. Yeah, so we've got our we've got our command set up. It's a little long, here, but yeah, it's SCP. So it's just like a copy command. We're passing in our key, and then we're saying, hey, copy our tar file.tar.gz to this server with this login information, and to this directory. So if I do this, it'll do some stuff. It'll give me a little prompt. You know, it'll give you a progress bar. Basically, if the file is large, lets me know that, you know, how fast it uploaded it, how much it uploaded, the time it took. And if I go in here, this is my server. When I say go in here, I'm on my server. And if I do an ls in this home directory, this file is now uploaded to my server. You can do this with, you know, as many files as you want, whole directories. It's a very fast way to move files around, you know, over the internet and get them onto different systems. Yeah, so that is SCP. And then we have rsync. So rsync allows you to synchronize directories. So if there's something you want to keep, you know, it's good for backups and things like that. But it'll basically do kind of like a diff and see what's changed, see what's different, and it will only sync the files that have been synced since, or synced that are different. It'll only sync up those things. If the file's already there, it won't move them. So that's pretty cool. And you can pass it some flags to delete if, you know, if the file isn't there and things like that. And let's do an rsync really quick. So we have all these files here, and I can do, let's go back one directory, and we have this untar folder. Let's make a new directory called synctar. So we're basically going to sync everything that's in the untar to the synctar directory. And if I do an ls on the synctar directory, there shouldn't be anything there, and there's nothing there. So you can do rsync -a, source being untar and destination being synctar. And if I ls synctar, I think that worked. Yeah, and now we did an LL on synctar before, we got nothing. And now when we do an LL on synctar, we have all of our files here. Yeah, so that just syncs up directories. It's a pretty cool way to copy stuff around on your server. You can also do rsync remotely the same exact way that we just did SCP. I could kind of, let's go back to that long SCP command. You still have to do, I actually don't think rsync goes over SSH. I think there would be something else involved. I think there's a different flag. Let me see, rsync over SSH. There's a different flag you got to put in for that. But basically, you just change this to rsync and give it the right flags. And the same way it copied the files, it will run a sync instead if we wanted to use rsync. So just know, I think it's more important for you just to know that you can use rsync over the network. You can use rsync over SSH. You don't just need to do it on your host machine. But yeah, SCP, if you want to get files onto a server, onto a remote server quickly, SCP is the way to go. Or rsync if you need to sync them up as well for that. And then just transferring files. And then I just want to do a super light intro to bash scripting. So this is where things, I think we've learned enough commands now to where we can start stringing things together. And so it's important to think about people get super intimidated when you say scripting, and people go to interviews and I've talked to people who are like, yeah, I know computers, I may know a little bit of Linux and Windows, but I don't know how to script. And that's fair, 100%. But I find that people are a little bit afraid of it. And there was a time when I was as well, but it's important to know that a script is, think about it like a movie script. A script is just a list of directions or a list of instructions. I personally don't consider scripting to be programming, because I don't. There's a lot of debate over that, and then I understand where people are going with it, but I don't consider scripting to be programming. Even if my program or my script, it has tons of logic and things. I don't know. I don't really consider it to be the same thing, but that's exactly what it is. So it's a file that has a series of instructions basically that your computer basically reads off like it was going for a movie interview or a movie screening or whatever. Trying to get a part for a movie. You give it the file, it reads it off, it does what the script says. So let's create a quick script really quick. So so we're gonna script in Bash. Bash, usually when people say Linux scripting, they're usually talking about Bash scripting. Bash is the born again shell, but basically it is the interpreter here. All the stuff you see me doing here, it's being interpreted by Bash. Bash is taking care of all of that. There are other shells. That's a way deeper video as well. But just know the shell that we are using and the shell that most people talk about when they're saying scripting or Linux scripting, they'll usually call it Bash scripting, is Bash. And let's create one right now. So the extension for a bash file, a text file is .txt, a Microsoft Word file is, actually don't know what it is anymore. A Word file is .doc, or .docx, and a bash script, I don't think it needs to, but let's go interpretive programming. I know it's showing my age, but yeah, no. Like I said, I accept that it is a programming language, that you are programming. I think that it is I guess I more so feel that it is I think programming of today is different. It takes a different mindset, or it takes a different headspace to do the programming requirements of today as opposed to scripting. And I think that's more so what it means. I wouldn't, someone who's only written scripts, I wouldn't want them to be confused and thinking that they could come into, a team of software developers and contribute. Maybe they could. Everyone's different. Maybe they could. But in my experience, that would not be the case, because the things that you are doing are a lot different. I think the paradigm is different. And so, yeah, maybe I will backtrack on that a little bit. I wouldn't say it's not programming. I would say that it can. I don't like to call it programming in today's terms because I think it confuses people. Yeah. So let's make one. So we're gonna create a file. I'm gonna use Vim to do this. Actually, for the cool syntax highlighting and stuff, I will open this up in Visual Studio Code for everyone, and we'll say code, and we'll call it our script Let's call it r script.sh. And we'll do something real simple here. And again, like I said, this is the introduction to bash scripting. We will get into deeper stuff starting just next week with bash scripting. And it may help you to go look at some of the Monday things that we do. So so Wednesdays we do cloud computing and you know, system stuff, more DevOpsy things. And then Mondays we do coding, different languages. We're trying to complete all the exercises on exorcism.io. But we talk about a lot of coding concepts there. A lot of those are pertinent to bash scripting, things like loops and conditionals, you know, if statements, stuff like that. So, and variables, we will get into that. And actually, we can set a variable here. But we have our bash script here that we are going to write. And we're going to give it something called a, I think people call it a bang or shebang. But I'm just going to tell it, I'm just going to put bin bash. So it knows how to interpret it. And then let people know it's a bash script as well. But that's what you should put at the top of your bash files. It can still work without it. But it's good practice to put this at the top of your bash files. I'm not going to get into the deeper reasons why this is important, but you can run bash files without it, but you shouldn't. Or you might want to reuse just a shell as your interpreter. That works as well. Or whatever shell you're using. This tells it which interpreter we want to use. Cool. So again, bash is just a set of instructions. So we'll keep it very simple and use the tools that we've learned so far. And so let's do something. Let's make a directory. So we'll just use normal Linux commands in here. First thing we're going to do is make a directory let's make a variable here. So a variable is a representation of something that can be changed. And so, you know, this is a common coding paradigm. Like you have to know how to make a variable if you want to code. Scripting, it helps as well. So let's make a variable called my name, and we'll set it to Aaron. I actually don't think I need to put it in a string, but I will. And some bash is how you create a variable, I think. Pretty sure. And then we're gonna make a directory. A normal Linux command. We want to make a directory we're going to make a directory of my name. Called my name. So I think I can just do make a directory of my name. And so using this variable, it should fill it in, and it should create a directory called Aaron. And then what do we want to do if we want to make an empty file in there? We want to make an empty file in that directory. We can then do a touch. And so it's another command we learned. This is how you make an empty file. And then we can say my name / Aaron.txt. Cool. And this is a dumb script. This is stupid, but this is, you know, a way I can make a repeatable task. Script out something, you know, this is a way you can make something you do every day. You know, you can write a script for it to take care of it for you. This is a dumb one, but this shows you how it's simple Linux commands. We're making a directory here, and we're going to create an empty file here. So let's run this. And so to run this, I'm just going to do, so first thing you have to do, actually, I'll run it first. So to run it, you do a / or you can do an sh in front in the file name. I'm going to do a / outscript.sh, and when I run it, it gives me a permission denied. Permissions are pretty important. We've talked about permissions, and maybe I'll give you 10 seconds or so to kind of take a look at this and figure out why I can't run this file. And so you may say, maybe we've learned about sudo, so maybe you need to put sudo, and we'll do sudo, and it doesn't work again. And why doesn't it work? Take a look one more time here, and take what you know about permissions that we learned in last stream, I believe. And perfect, we got some help in the chat, but X is not enabled. So remember, this is read, write, and execute. There are no execute permissions in here. So running a script, you are executing the script. And this does not have that. A simple way to do that is a +X. This will enable execution for everyone, I believe. And we will do that right there. And we'll take a look at it again. We will see that this now has execute permissions for everyone. We may not want that, so we could give it number specific number permission, but it looks good. And in Linux, or at least the way mine is set up in a lot of Linux out of the box, an executable will be a different color than other files. And then we will try to run our script. So we ran it. And remember, that script was supposed to set a variable of my name, which is Aaron, create a directory of that variable name, and then put a file, an empty file in there named aaron.txt, I believe. So let's take a look. And just like that, before we did not have a directory called Aaron, but we do have a directory called Aaron now. And we'll go into that directory, or we'll just list what's in that directory. And you see I have an empty file, a file of 0 bytes. Called aaron.txt, which is pretty cool. So just like that, we kind of made a cool process. And let's do something cooler. Let's expand upon that a little bit to just kind of see how you can string commands together again to make a script. This is a script. It's a list of scripted things that you want the computer to do. So we've created that file. And then we're gonna echo. So echo is a Linux command, and I can do an echo here. I can say echo, I am cool, and all it does is it spits it back out into standard out back into your console. So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna do echo, I am the coolest person ever. And then we're gonna put that. So we created this empty file here, but I want to fill it with something. And so I want to fill it with Aaron.txt. I'm the coolest person ever. I wanted to say that. So I'm going to give it this this output operator. And let's go with so we made this file. And basically we're gonna echo this out, and then we are going to basically, instead of putting that into the command line, we are going to, or to standard out, it's going to spit it out into the file. And then it's going to tell us, we're going to give us some feedback, and we're going to say this script is done. And you are the coolest. Cool. So, we've added a little more functionality to it. Now we have, not only are we creating an empty file here, we're going to stick some text into that file, into the text file, and then we're going to add some stuff in our script to notify us, that our script is done. Cool. Thanks for dropping by. I appreciate it. I like your interaction. I appreciate that for sure. Definitely hope to see you next week. Cool. So yeah, so we have this now. We got our script together. Let's go back into our console and let's run this again. All right, so it runs. It lets us know that the script is done. It's good practice. It's good best practices to put in these echoes and put in these things that let you know the status of the script, let it know where it is. If your script is doing a bunch of things, you definitely want to put these in so people know what's going on. Yeah, and lets me know that it's done. And let's take a look. We now have this Aaron directory. Let's go into it. And let's take a look. Let's cat this file and see what's in it. We can see that it's no longer 0 bytes. It's 29 bytes. And when you do this, it says, I am the coolest person ever. Yeah, so, and you can see how you can just extend that. So you can see how if every day you needed to, let's do something a little cooler. We'll do something a lot cooler, actually. So we showed users the first time. We could do something like this. Let's say you are administering a server, and you work at a company that hires new people all the time, and you've got to go in every time and create a new user for someone. And in their environment, you want to put a welcome note in there as well. So you can make a script like this. We can make a variable called new user, and we can set it to something called $1. What this does, setting something to $1, it allows the script to take a command line argument, and I'll show you what that means in a second. but it's basically going to take the very first command line argument we pass in, and it's going to set that to new user. And then we're going to go user add. We're going to run the command user add. We learned how to add a user the first time. We're going to user add, and we're going to add that new user here. And then we are going to echo welcome to the team. And then we're going to put in their name, new user. Welcome to the team, new user. And we're going to pipe that into /home. So whenever you create a new user, whenever a new user is created, by default, unless you give it some other options, it's going to create that new user's home directory in /home. So we're going to put that file into new user /welcome. Cool. So just like this, we'll test this really quick. But basically, just as fast, we've created a process in which everybody who joins, we can quickly run a script. Instead of having to run this user add command and copy this file into their space every time, we can run this script and it should work for anyone's name we pass into it. So let's save this. Let's run it. This may not be right. This may not be right. I think it's right. But this is the server. Okay. So let's go back to where our script is and let's run it's supposed to be our script, I spelled it wrong. But let's pass in someone's name. So on this, the users on here currently are is just me. Let's say we want to let's make a user called Twitch. So let's run it. The user's name is going to be Twitch. Cool. Permission denied. Why did that happen? It happened because I have not escalated my privileges. I should be able to sudo it. No such file or directory for home Twitch. Let's check that out. So first, let's see if it created that user. So it did create the user. It did do that, and home Twitch, but it did not create. Oh, maybe I need to give them a shell. Let's see, user add. You know what? That is for a deeper day too. We can just do this. We can also make a directory for them in /home /new user. And then this will work. But in the user add command, we could give them a specific shell. I think because we're not giving them a shell, it's not creating them a directory by default. But let's do this again. And let's call it Twitch2. Now, it didn't give us an error here. And so now if I go, if I list out home Twitch2 directory, there's this welcome.txt here. And if I change into that, I can cat that welcome and welcome to the team Twitch2. And so I could do this with any number of users. I could set this up. I could set up scripts to basically do my repetitive jobs for me. And that's why scripting and it's so cool. That's why automation is so great. But that's how powerful you can use bash scripts to make your job of managing a Linux computer a lot easier. I used to write a bunch of scripts to do backups and all kinds of stuff to manage my computer, to purge different things and to check for old files, and if I haven't touched them, list them into a file for me so that I can go through it later and figure out which files I don't need anymore. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. It's super powerful being able to do that. Let's go back to where I was. But yeah, that's our script. That's a super simple intro into bash scripting. And you can expand on this in any way you'd like. But at the end of the day, so it may be like throwing in this variable may have been complicated to you, but I could have just change this person's name to, I could have just said Twitch, new person name, and just everywhere it says new user, I can change it to Twitch, and you can run that. You can just run a series of Linux commands. You can do things like cd. You can change directories into other directories, and all the stuff that we've done. You can ping stuff and take action against something, you know, based on the ping results. And, you know, there's a million different things you can do with bash scripting or scripting period. You can do the same paradigm with other languages, but bash is great for, you know, we're on a Linux computer. A bash script is good because this will work, you know, by default. We don't need to install a language, an interpreted language to interpret it, or a compiled language to compile the code to do what we want to do. There's a super quick and easy way to be able to do the things you want. You can copy these into you can do something like this. So just like this, I'll show you something. Another thing that's cool, you know, we've got this here. This works. We know it works. Let's make it so that we can call it by command. So I did this dot slash thing to run it. I can copy it to, let's copy it to /user local bin. I think use local bin's in my path, and let's call it well, I typed that wrong. Copy out script to /user local bin. So this directory should be in my path. This is probably where all of my executables are, and I can call it, let's say add, let's say new user. I'll just call it new user. So basically I'm renaming this. I'm copying this into this folder and I'm renaming the file new user. So I'll do that. Permission denied. Let me sudo that. Cool. And now, because it's here, I can call it by name. So I can just type in new user. Let's go Kelly. And okay, permission denied. I still need to escalate my privileges, but I can do sudo new user or sudo new user Kelly, and I can now call that script by name. So if I was the root user, you know, I could just run new user Kelly to run my script, which is pretty cool. You know, basically you're creating a command, your own command for this script that you want to run. And if I cat etc password, I see that Kelly was created. And then if I list out her home, Kelly, her welcome.txt, whoops, let me cat it so you can see what's in it. You can see it says, welcome to the team, Kelly. And so our script, you know, again, it's repeatable. That's what only write a script if you need to repeat the process. No need to script if you don't, honestly. Yeah, learn this. This is not hard. You know, learn the commands first. Once you get the commands, practice stringing them together in a file like this. Just, you know, create a file with a .sh file ending. Throw this at the top and just see what you can do. Maybe try to, you know, create a file and move it somewhere else, and maybe have it ping a domain or something, and just mess around and see how you can string commands together. Maybe, you know, run a couple echoes to get output. Say, hey, echo now I'm moving this file here. Echo now I'm creating this directory. Just another way to add in your practice. This is a very basic introduction to bash scripting. Bash does give you it gives you, you know, a lot of the tools and things that most programming languages have, if not all, honestly. So you can do really complex things in bash. But yeah, this, just because you're learning these Linux commands and it is interpreted by default, in Linux, it's interpreted right out of the box. This is the way to go to do repeatable things like this. And we'll go deeper. You can create, you know, functions and bash aliases and cool things you can do to kind of make your workflow a lot better and to make this stuff powerful for you. But that's it. That's all I have for tonight. Next time we will we'll dig into some of the deeper things with bash scripting again, like conditionals and loops, and, you know, checking if a file actually exists and things like that to help you, you know, script out some more complex things. Maybe we'll put together a real scenario, you know, that you might see working somewhere where you may have to use scripting to solve that problem. We'll do that next time. We'll do what else? I had some other stuff on the table, but this will slowly morph back into the I wanted to do this and then morph this into kind of ease into the Amazon stuff, back into the Amazon stuff. We did a high level overview, but now that we know kind of the commands and things, we can kind of dig into, actually next is how the internet works, like basically how data flows. So we'll learn about DNS, basically, you know, how the internet works, maybe a little bit about the OSI model. We'll move into that, and then we'll start actually working on servers. We're basically just going to progress our way up to kind of build the foundational blocks to get to a lot of the newer stuff. But we'll set up some servers. You know, we'll install stuff on them using the commands that we learned. You know, we'll administer them. We'll create things on them, and then we'll just, you know, and then we'll take some of the stuff that we learn on Mondays with the development course, and maybe we'll build some apps and things like that. But we'll just take it higher and higher and higher. So yeah, YouTube, man, I need some time to finish editing. I've actually started recording like the first like 4 weeks of YouTube video content. I'm gonna try, for the beginning, I'm just gonna release a video a week until my editing skills get better, and then I'll try to go for 2 videos a week. Those will be less hands-on videos. The first few are slated to, you know, what does a developer really do, and, you know, what is the industry looking for? What the things you can pick up to kind of learn things in the industry. I will start posting. I have recorded all of these so far, so I will post those as well on my YouTube. But I want to drop a couple of the other videos first, and go back and kind of watch and clean up some of these as well. But yeah, well, again, every week we'll dive deeper and deeper and deeper, and, you know, before you know it, we'll be into the big stuff. Again, if you're watching this and you didn't understand a lot of what I've done, don't worry about that. Half of being in the tech industry, or half of learning this tech, is being able to see it. It's being able to not only see it, it's learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Every day, you know, I'm giving things that, you know, I may not be sure how to do, but you learn how to go find it. And the more you get your eyes on this stuff, you'll remember. You know, you might not remember any of this, but next time you come back and I might say something about an IP address, and you may say, "Oh yeah, I remember that's the numbers that he grabbed that referred to that server he was talking about, or those are the numbers he grabbed that, you know, that's how I can log in," or something like that. You know, just pick up those bits and pieces of knowledge, you know, over time, and watch more videos, watch more streams. You know, get in there and practice. Don't be afraid to kind of hop in and play around. Like, it does get pretty fun, you know, once you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. Yes, so I will absolutely, like, most of my videos that are slated right now are the career wise, like the things you can do, the jobs you can get, you know, the different pieces, like the different levels of the industry, different places of the industry. You know, everyone doesn't want to be a programmer, everyone doesn't want to be a sysadmin, everyone doesn't want to do DevOps, but there's tons of stuff. There's UX UI, there's Scrum mastering, there's product management, you know, there's software development, there's web development, DevOps, systems administrators, network administrators, cybersecurity. There's all these different avenues, and my YouTube channel will be dedicated to really that, and talking about those things and how to get into those things. And the streams are going to be more of the hands-on skills, and kind of learning those skills and getting hands-on and figuring out stuff live, so that you can ask questions. Because I know sometimes it's hard to watch those videos, and you have questions and you want to figure out, you know, hey, why did you do that thing you just did, or how did you do it? I like that Twitch can be, you know, you can get that instant feedback. So that's where this stuff will be done. But absolutely, actually, I guess it probably got taken down already because I was not an affiliate yet. But my first few streams were actually just, you know, information about getting into the tech industry, the different jobs, salaries and things like that. I might start incorporating that more and more into the live streams as well. Yeah, and, you know, we can do that right now. Actually, just for, you know, you're learning this Linux stuff. Linux is good to know in any piece of the industry you go into. But let's just go on Glassdoor real quick, and let's look at it's gonna make me, let's see with Google. Well, let me see. I can just I'm just exploring. Give it some fake names. What are they gonna give me? I'm in Baltimore. I don't care if you guys know I'm in Baltimore. Oh my gosh, this is asked for way too much. Not looking. I should have just Googled it, but let's go with like a Linux administrator, just because that's right on that has the nail on the head. Exactly what we're doing. You can take this stuff and apply it immediately to be a Linux administrator. Let's go to salaries. And this is the the average salary for a Linux administrator, $75,000 dollars. But with Linux, like again, if I just if I go to jobs and type in Linux, obviously like sysadmin stuff is going to come up. But when I tell you that, like, look, it's imaging scientist and technical consultant, like developers, like lead developer, like Linux is a part of all of this stuff. So, so it's important to know, like, you're going to get such a variety of jobs in here, data, like all this other stuff. If you know Linux is like, it's the foundation. It's what the internet runs on, basically. So it is important to know, no matter what you're going to go into. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely like this stuff. Is cool to learn, and I will be making that stuff. And definitely follow me on social media. All of my social media is at MASTERMND.io. Well, all of but everything's except for YouTube. But like I'll just put that out so you can see when the YouTube videos drop. For the industry stuff. I'm gonna start trying to interview people on the stream sometimes, maybe on Fridays or Saturdays, just to kind of talk to other people in the industry. Hear their story, hear what you need to do to get into where they are. I'll talk about how I got to where I am and like what the skills I think you need to pick up to kind of get here, and kind of how to go about getting a job. But again, the journey's fun. The industry is wide open for anyone who wants to get in. I mean, there are tons of jobs. The jobs are outpacing the people who are actually going into it. And it really, I'm telling you, it really isn't. It's not that hard. I have lots of experience, but I promise you, I'm not the smartest person out there. But I touch the stuff all the time. I practiced, and you pick that stuff up. I appreciate the follow, but you can get there. And I'll do, reach out to me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn's also at MASTERMND.io. And, ask me questions. If you want to ask me, send me a message with questions. You want to know, you want some advice. I'll give you the best advice that I can give. Again, all my stuff won't be perfect. That's why I want to get other people on here to talk to everyone about the way they've approached the tech industry as well, to give everyone the best shot at doing this stuff. But let me go ahead and spin this down because I don't want to be charged for this, even though it's a free tier. But yeah, that's all I have for tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Keep an eye out for that YouTube drop. I really want to drop it Friday, but I got really busy last week. I want to drop it on Friday. That's usually when I want to do my YouTube drops. So just, if you can, get subscribed to that, so that you can get the notification. But appreciate it, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see you hopefully on Monday.